Well, good afternoon, Senators. Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm pleased to present this bill, SB X11. Members of the committee, I've been up and down the state talking about this important issue, what to do with our crumbling streets and roads and a transportation system that is aging rapidly. You know, there are a few policies that reach across all groups and constituents with resounding agreement, and I think fixing our roads is one of them. This bill, SB 1, is how I propose to address this need. The state transportation system is critical to California's economic well-being. It enables us to move goods and people around and through our state. All of us who drive share the responsibility to maintain our roads. We use the roads, we wear them down. In return, we must properly maintain them because it's cheaper than rebuilding a ruined freeway or street. California now faces a $59 billion backlog in deferred maintenance that will grow in absence of a solution. Now, part of this backlog is due to the decline in the dollar, rising costs, the recession even, the time it takes to bounce back. Now, the dollar is now worth almost $2 at the time the state last increased the gas tax. So we're at that situation. We have not increased the base revenues for this work since the 1990s. We no longer have the funding to maintain the infrastructure we have, let alone address the needs of ever-growing and shifting population.
You're very welcome.
This bill requires a much-needed funding plan to address the maintenance and backlog of our aging system. The bill is based on 4 principles. First, it establishes an equitable financing strategy. Everybody contributes their fair share to the road maintenance program. Secondly, it includes protections to ensure the funding only goes to road maintenance. Third, it establishes efficiencies in Caltrans to ensure projects are completed on time and on budget. Finally, my bill provides funding at the state, county, and city level to address road maintenance needs at all levels. The modest gas tax increase proposed by my bill represents what it should have been due to inflation, if we even had an inflation factor when the last gas tax was approved. Some are concerned about the protections of funding raised in my bill and whether we can prevent the sweeping of these monies in future years. Let me be clear. All the taxes and fees proposed in my bill may only be spent for transportation purposes and not be borrowed by the legislature. The gasoline tax and diesel excise tax may only be spent on transportation pursuant to Article 19, Section 2 of the California Constitution. Fees on vehicles other than property taxes may only be spent on transportation purposes pursuant to Article 19, Section 3 of the California Constitution. The bill will save money in the future and alleviate the need to raise even higher revenue in future years. The cost associated with this bill is minimal compared to the revenues generated by this comprehensive plan. So let's come together, let's address this issue now, instead of letting the problem grow and expecting that future generations will solve the problem. They won't solve the problem because the problem it'll be too late to solve the problem if we delay. It really will. It'll be too late. This grows at the level of $4 to $5 billion a year. Let me now turn my attention to your witnesses, and thank you for your attention. Witnesses.
Senator Bill, before you move on, there is a technical amendment. Are you accepting that?
Yeah.
It's on. Okay, very good. Witnesses and support.
Good morning, or maybe afternoon now. Jennifer Whiting on behalf of the League of California Cities. Also today, speaking on behalf of the California State Association of Counties. Before I begin, I want to thank once again Senator Bell for bringing this proposal forward. He, as you all know, he has been a leader of this discussion all year, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. He put the proposal forward at a time that it was not easy. We are definitely at a point of crisis in California, and what you are doing here today and in the next few weeks is absolutely critical to our state. Already, local streets and roads are crumbling beneath our feet, and that is why cities and counties are supporting a package of funding. We'd like to see at least a 10-year package of funding so that we can make a real impact on the deficit that we're all facing. The money, we believe the money should be split between the state and county as it is in Senator Bell's bill, and should be protected and used only for, the revenues need to be used only for transportation purposes. We support moderate increases in gas and diesel taxes, vehicle registration and license fees, and other relevant fees and taxes. One of the fairest ways to pay for infrastructure is a user-pays system in which those who benefit from the system contribute to maintaining it. And that is why we also support user charges for non-fossil fuel-powered vehicles. We believe spreading the revenue over a variety of sources ensures that everyone pays their fair share and no one source is disproportionately impacted. And we believe that by focusing on fixing and maintaining the current system, we are being smart and frugal with taxpayers' money. These principles are all present in SB1 in the first extraordinary session, and that is why we are supportive of the bill. We know and recognize that we are talking about a lot of money, but the cost of inaction is even higher. As many of you know, the California State Association of Counties, League of California Cities and Regional Transportation Agencies have commissioned a report on the conditions of local streets and roads. That report found that the average statewide pavement condition index is 66, and that is in the at-risk category. Under current funding, in 10 years, this statewide number is expected to drop to a despicable 55. And the percent of roads in failed condition will increase from 6.2% to almost 25%. To put these numbers in dollars, just a 5-year delay in new funding will cost California $11 billion on the local system alone. But you have an opportunity to turn that trend around. It is time for the state to pass a package that allows us to keep what we've got in working order. We urge your aye vote on this bill.
Next.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Madam Chair, I apologize.
I didn't even.
My name is Michael Quigley with the California Alliance for Jobs. I'm also here representing the Fix Our Roads Coalition, which has over 30 signatory members representing local government, business, labor, and transportation advocates. Although our coalition doesn't have a formal position on this bill, we have issued a principles letter, and you will find that many of the principles in our coalition are mirrored under Senator Bell's bill. One of the first coalition principle is we would like to see a package that raises at least $6 billion annually for a period of 10 years or until a new funding mechanism can be found. We'd like to see these new revenues focused on maintaining and preserving our current system more than just fixing potholes. This will also require major pavement overlays, fixing unsafe bridges, providing safe access for bicycles and pedestrians, and many other type of projects. We would like to see a portion of this the diesel tax or cap and trade revenues to be invested in high priority goods movement projects. We would like to see revenues raised across a broad range of options. As was mentioned earlier, the voters in California don't want to see one big bill that they get hit with once a year. They want to see this spread out across different areas so that it has a more equitable impact across taxpayers. We would like to see equal split between state and local projects. There's great need at both levels, and ignoring one without the other means that you can't get to a highway without leaving your driveway. We would like to see strong accountability requirements to protect these taxpayer investments. And finally, we would like to see legislation that provides consistent annual funding levels. Currently, under current statute, we've seen major fluctuations, including a drop of $900 million in this budget year alone. We would like to see something that smooths out the BOE gas tax adjustments moving forward. And I want to say that we've been working with Senator Bell's office, and it's been a pleasure. He's been a great leader on this issue. Thank you.
Next.
Madam Chair, good morning. My name is Jack Aginian. I'm the mayor of the city of Montebello and the chair of the Alameda Corridor East Construction Authority. Again, short is ACE. ACE is implementing a comprehensive program of constructing roadway, railroad separations at congested and dangerous crossings in eastern Los Angeles County. Our projects are located on the busy Alameda Corridor East Trade Corridor, where nearly 70 freight trains a day carry goods from the Los Angeles and Long Beach port to the rest of the nation. I traveled to Sacramento today to express our strong support for the Senate bill and our appreciation to Senator Bell for proposing increased funding for the Trade Corridor Improvement Fund, or TCIF program. For the past 7 years, the TCIF program has used Proposition 1B funding to construct improvements to California's trade corridors and gateways. $1.8 billion in bond funds have been leveraged through the TCIF program to deliver nearly $6 billion in projects statewide. Last year, the legislature and governor enacted SB 1228 to permanently establish this successful program in state law. However, the TCIF program was unfunded and needed a dedicated revenue source, which is now proposed in this bill. SB 1 would provide an estimated $312 million annually for the TCIF program. ACE has joined with Regional Coalition of Port and Transportation Agencies from Southern California in signing a letter urging support for the TCIF program, copies of which have been delivered to your offices. Our group has identified nearly a dozen projects in Southern California alone that could move into construction if the TCIF program is funded, including new border crossings, multimodal, port and highway improvements, and grade separations. We thank Senator Bell for his bold leadership and urge a yes vote.
Madam Chairman, members, Mark Watts on behalf of Transportation California. I know it'll be hard to believe, but I worked on a similar package back in 1989 that was successful in raising the gas tax. The irony is at that point in time, that was intended to be a 10-year program and we would get back to it at the end of that decade. Well, we never did because we had earthquakes and the like that interfered, and we had budget dilemmas that redirected the funds. So now we fast forward ourselves to this point in time, and I, on behalf of Transportation California, we're very supportive of this measure. I'll be very brief to wrap up. One thing that this bill does that I think is unique and very important, it doesn't just deal with the massive backlog in maintenance and preservation, but the senator has now taken the bill into addressing the trade issue, goods movement issue, which is very important to the economy and should have benefits going forward if this were enacted. And finally, it also addresses that conundrum that the other gentleman just mentioned, which is the reduction and the annual volatility of the tax structure resulting from the tax swap. So I think this is an important measure, and we're happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Keith Dunn here for the American Council of Engineering Companies. In support, I also would like to say the Self-Help Counties Coalition hasn't had a time as a full board to weigh in on this special session bill. With regards to that, I would just say that, having a funding for the state as a partner, as many of you know, Self-Help Counties have stepped up locally and continue to do it. We're pleased that there's a split in this for local works as well as the state, but having a funded state is critically important to have that third leg of a stool's, transportation funding comes from many sources. So in brief, American Council of Engineering Companies here in support, Self-Help Counties, we look to have a good partner who has resources to help us maintain the system that we're already contributing to.
Good morning, Rebecca Long with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the 9-county Metropolitan Planning Organization for the Bay Area. We do have a support position on SB 1. We're very grateful for the Senator's leadership on this issue, and we just encourage all the committee members to really engage in the special session, and let's get it to the goal line. Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll go really quick, Madam Chair. Bill Higgins with the California Association of Councils of Governments, representing the 18 metropolitan planning organizations and the regional transportation planning agencies and congestion management agencies that actually plan, fund, and deliver the sustainable community strategies in the state. The modes that we're dealing with, whether it's cycling, walking, complete streets, transit, all rely on a basic road system for success. The investment in that is critical to the success of our plans. And looking forward, as we look toward electric vehicles taking over the roads with high sophisticated electronics, they're we're guessing, going to need very smooth roads to operate efficiently.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Jose Mejia, California State Council of Laborers, in support and certainly commend the member for his activeness and commitment to funding infrastructure. It's a perfect opportunity now that we have the special session on infrastructure to really, as was said earlier, to have every single one of you engage in this effort. This bill certainly sets the pace towards a very, very good direction, and certainly urge that you work with the rest of the caucus to make sure that we get something done, because these opportunities normally don't come that often. Strongly urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have additional witnesses in support?
Madam Chair and members, Tim Schott on behalf of the California Association of Port Authorities, which is comprised of the 11 commercial publicly owned ports. We do not have an official position yet on this bill, but we did submit a letter of outlining priorities and principles for your consideration. We are particularly encouraged with the conversations regarding trade corridors and principal gateways. $700 billion in revenue annually is freight dependent, and some 5 million jobs. We encourage you to keep working on this and deliver something. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Steve Wallach on behalf of the Alameda County Transportation Commission. This bill also addresses many of the principles that are identified by the Commission in its position letter on the needs for transportation funding, particularly the local streets and roads funding, the goods movement corridor funding. One area we'd like to continue to work with is opening up the state and local partnership program to all counties that participate in that program, but we urge your support.
Madam Chair, Tim Egan with Southern California Association of Governments. We want to compliment and thank Senator Bell's leadership for presenting, in our opinion, a very robust and comprehensive transportation funding package, from local streets and road support to very much needed shop support for our state highway system, but also bringing funding in for the trade corridor program that other people have already referenced. That has been probably, in a lot of people's opinion, one of the more successful sub-programs, sub-allocation programs under Prop 1B. And we're very encouraged that Senator Bell has recognized that and strongly urge an aye vote.
Kurt Evans with the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, and we are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Audrey Durfer on behalf of the Ventura County Transportation Commission, also in support.
Richard Markison representing the American Society of Civil Engineers, 19,000 civil engineers in public and private practice. While we haven't taken a position on this measure, I would note its similarity to SB 16, which we strongly support. Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Mel Osagai for the City of Compton. We are very, very enthusiastic about this bill. Its balance in the funding is very critical to us. We're in strong support. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, members, Roxanne Miller representing the Mayor Sam Liccardo and the City Council of the City of San Jose. We want to particularly thank our state senator for his vision. We want to compliment all of you for the time that you are putting in, the absolute understanding of how imperative finding this solution, it will be to the future of not only local streets and roads, our ability for movement of goods and services, but to the interest of the state of California. Thanks to the governor and his willingness to call a special session so all of us can come together as one state to solve this problem and move to the future. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Joshua Shaw with the California Transit Association, representing all of your local public transit operators, motorists, truck drivers. Yes, transit riders need better streets and roads and improved highways, and we strongly support the bill. Do want to thank Senator Bell for maintaining an ongoing dialogue with us on whether, when, if so, how to also acknowledge the rehabilitation and modernization needs of your local public transit systems, if not in this bill, then in some other package of measures you might contemplate, such as recently introduced by Senator Allen, by Senator Hill, or other mechanisms. In the meantime, strongly support this bill. Thank you. Good luck with that, Allen.
Yes, John Arriaga on behalf of the Transportation Agency of Monterey County. I'd like to thank the Senator for his leadership on this issue and ask for your support of this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, Michael Pimentel with Shaw, Yoder, Antwi on behalf of the City of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, City and County of San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, Solano Transportation Authority, Solano County Transit, County of Humboldt, and the City County Association of Governments of San Mateo County, all in strong support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Lynette Childs with the Urban Counties Caucus in support of this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Ted Toppin for the professional engineers in California government in support. The need is immense and real, particularly to maintain and rehabilitate our state highway system. As always, we thank Senator Bell for his leadership in this arena and urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, David Jones, on behalf of the cities of Sacramento, Glendale, and the cities of Marin, thank the author and urge his support of the bill. Thank you.
Kirk Blackburn on behalf of the San Diego Association of Governments, SANDAG. SANDAG is supportive of the inclusion of funding for local streets and roads and the Trade Corridor Improvement Fund. However, support inclusion of language that would focus the investment on the O and shop operations. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Gus Corey on behalf of the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments and San Mateo County Transportation Authority. We would like to get to a support position, but would request that an accommodation be made to fund the STIP program. That's the program that local jurisdictions use to leverage their local sales tax dollars along with federal funds to make improvements, operational improvements on the state highway system, fund the multimodal system by investing into passenger rail. And so given the fact that Governor Brown just vetoed some legislation that would have allowed some of the counties that you represent to go to the ballot to ask voters if they want to approve a local sales tax measure for transportation, and if we go on without a STIP component, that's really going to handicap our ability to meet the state's objectives of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and reducing traffic congestion. So I'd love to work with the author further in that endeavor. Thank you.
Chairman and members, Kelly Jensen representing the California Trucking Association. We are willing participants in this discussion. We very much appreciate the authors working with us as it relates to a reasonable diesel excise tax. We do believe an important component is the full recapture of weight fees, and so we're not able to support the bill at this time without that provision in it, but we look forward to continued discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Todd Bloomstein for the Southern California Contractors Association in support.
Madam Chair, Dave Ackerman representing the Associated General Contractors in support. Just another side benefit of this, which no one's mentioned, the direct construction jobs created by every $1 billion spent in construction. It's 19,000 direct construction jobs benefit from this. Those are high-paying jobs that pay taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, and the like. So it's direct input back into the economy. We appreciate your support.
Another billion.
Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, Santa Clara County, in support, and want to express appreciation to Senator Bell. Thank you.
Hi, Ella Wise with the Natural Resources Defense Council. We appreciate the Senator's leadership on this issue. We do have some concerns about the current proposal. For example, we think that all vehicles should pay their fair share, but we have concerns about the annual fee on zero-emission vehicles. But with that, we look forward to working with the author to make sure that all strategies to raise revenue and allocate revenue are consistent with sustainable communities and SB 375, our vehicle electrification goals, and our petroleum reduction goals. Thank you.
Catherine Phillips with Sierra Club, California. As everybody else has said, we really appreciate what the author has done, what Senator Bell has done to address this issue. And this may be one of those rare occasions when you'll find highway builders and environmental groups in agreement that something needs to happen to find new funding for infrastructure. We have not taken a position on this bill, and we share the concerns about the fees for zero electric vehicles. But we also have a couple of other things that we think deserve attention. On the Trade Corridor Improvement Fund, if there is an increase in the diesel fee and diesel tax and that increase goes to a portion of it goes to the Trade Corridor Improvement Fund, we think that it should be bounded by the requirement that any projects funded with that increase be consistent with the sustainable freight planning that's going to be coming out of as a result of the governor's executive order. Additionally, we would like to see some transit funding in there and think it would be appropriate for the diesel funding increase, at least a portion of that, to be going to transit funding. We look forward to continuing the discussion with the author and others on the committee.
Good afternoon, Jeannie Ward-Waller with the California Bicycle Coalition. We don't have an official position on the bill, but we are supportive in concept of the funding going, being focused on maintenance and also the inclusion of eligibility for walking and biking improvements. Maintenance projects are definitely the most cost-effective time to make those improvements and improve mobility for everyone on the roadway, not just cars. We would like to see this body do more to focus funding on active transportation so that we're addressing our climate needs with any long-term funding, and also the public health and safety of Californians. I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Chair, members, Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, I'd like to associate my comments with those of Mr. Mejia and Mr. Ackerman. Thank the author for his leadership on this issue and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Moira Top on behalf of Orange County Business Council. We don't have a specific position on this bill, but we are members of the Fix Our Roads Coalition and echo the concerns or echo the comments and support offered earlier in testimony, and do look forward to the continued dialogue. Thank you.
Chris Rosa, representing the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, in support.
Any additional witnesses in support and witnesses in opposition?
Madam Chair, members, good afternoon. David Wolf here with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We're opposed to this measure. Members, what are we doing here today exactly? This measure, if approved, would leave us without question with the highest fuel taxes in the nation, approaching at least 70 cents a gallon. 70 cents. Now, members, this should not come as a surprise that we're opposing this bill, obviously. The argument is we just reflexively oppose taxes, and we're always no, and we have nothing more to contribute to the conversation other than that. And that's not true in this instance, or perhaps ever, but certainly not in this instance. Members, the problem is not just with what this bill does, but what it doesn't do. This bill does nothing but tax and tax and tax. There is no consideration in this bill about how to solve a $58 billion road maintenance backlog over 10 years without raising taxes. There is no consideration. But there have been bills introduced in this special session to actually directly solve this problem. Let's talk about what those are here. Rededicating high-speed rail dollars to road maintenance purposes. Rededicating cap and trade revenue to road maintenance purposes. Members, there are $2 billion at least of cap and trade revenue that were not delegated in this last budget intentionally. Billions and billions of dollars are sitting there on the table that vehicle users have put into the cap and trade fund that are not being spent. And we can certainly rededicate some of this money to these road maintenance purposes. There are truck weight fees and other gas tax revenue. Senator Huff's bill comes to mind. Taking a look at Caltrans staffing levels, Senator Murlock's bill that was taken up this morning. Members, it's estimated that only 20% of the $10 billion that we spend on existing transportation programs every year goes to road maintenance. Only 20% of the $10 billion. Why don't we bump that up to 50%? That doesn't seem excessive. We can spend $5 billion of the $10 billion of existing revenue on transportation purposes that go towards road maintenance. Members, if you do all these things over 10 years, and by the way, all of the things that I just mentioned are bills in this special session that we could approve today. Some of them require constitutional amendments and voter approval, but I have no doubt that voters would approve these things if they were presented to them. These bills have been introduced, members. They're out there, and if they're approved, we can solve a large portion of this $58 billion backlog without raising taxes. It is not needed. It's not needed. Members, let me close, because I'm a football fan. Let me close by playing some political football. This is not about the rainy day fund. The Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association supported the rainy day fund, in fact, when it was on the ballot last year, because there is volatility in our income tax system. There needs to be a rainy day fund to help deal with that. Members, tax reform is necessary. Maybe not Senator Hertzberg's tax reform, but tax reform.
Withhold.
Yeah. But I know, senators, I do agree. Tax reform is absolutely necessary, and we will work with Senator Hertzberg and any other senator in order to deal with that. But the issue is, and let's not get confused, the issue is not the rainy day fund. The issue is priority. The issue is prioritizing the $10 billion that we spend on existing transportation programs. The issue is, how do you deal with a record $115 billion budget and prioritize money for transportation programs? Let's talk about that. There's bills in these special session to do that. Let's do that before we talk about raising taxes. Ask for a no vote.